All right, today I'm going to do a sample of character generation and an example of leveling. So we're going to be using the adventure method, which is where the percentiles are halved and arranged as you wish them to be, which is the recommended method. And then there's also the heroic method where you don't have them, you just put them in order, much more powerful, very random characters. And then the narrative method is just you and the GM figure out kind of based on description. You can put random elements. You can say, I want a barbarian who has a particular concept, so it doesn't make sense if I want to play a barbarian who is actually very charismatic and just you build the character that you have as an idea. So more for kind of like narrative role playing things. People like that kind of stuff. But we're going to create Versdagliga, probably my all time favorite character, or one of them. And we're going to put him in. He's also a deity in the game, a lesser deity. Um, and he also features as an NPC in the caravan adventure, but he's just playing like the human version of himself, and that the high level human version of himself. And so here we go. We will begin by, and I have a character sheet. This is not going to be the final version of it. This is just a general functional version. Will eventually be more ornate and decorated, but it covers everything we need to have. So here we go. Beginning, there's Dog Liga class, Barbarian. Level is going to be 1. Experience, starting with 0. Appearance and demeanor. This is just, I think having 3 elements in the appearance and demeanor are helpful for when you're making a character. So we're just going to put tall, athletic, Nordic. He's impulsive, uh, boisterous, um, and vigilant. Drinks to drink. He is going to be one thing about him. He is not cruel. So while he is, I would say, chaotic, but not cruel. So he's never cruel. He never takes it. Someone who's weak or defend. He's never gonna, be harsh with anyone who's in an unfortunate position. So that's one thing. He does actually have some compassion. He is rather compassionate. He's just kind of foolish and has no discernment. Background. Now these are actual mechanical elements. Remember, there are all lists of all kinds of them, but we're just going to put his or you could put criminal, but he has criminal contact. So he's kind of dumb and gullible, so he gets involved with some people who are he doesn't necessarily realize that they're bad people, but he has connections everywhere he goes to the criminal underworld. Um, put down mariner. I'll put down seafaring or sea. I guess seafaring. So he has journeyed abroad at sea, so he gets bonuses at the sea. And the other element, sometimes I'll put gladiator or outlander. In this case, we'll put he does have experience as a pit fighter, prize fighter. So he would use bonuses ranging from -2 to +4 and appropriate checks in those situations. In addition to other advantages, as a GM determines the pathfinding that is found on the page on civilization and exploration. For a barbarian, it is 4 plus intellect. So his intellect is very low, but he gets a big bonus. So he ends up generally having, which when we generate the intellect, we'll put it in here. It's generally high for, and again, it determines the circumstances under which random encounters occur, or encounters in general, as you're traveling through the wilderness. And that's a stat that every class has. But certain classes, like the ranger, the barbarian, the druid, get higher bonuses. So they're much better at keeping you alive, or at least having the encounters happen on your terms, and this is also tied into the background. So pathfinding is modified. So if he's seafaring, I would give Varys like a +4 if he's traveling across the sea, because he's a very experienced mariner. Um, Criminal contacts, if he's navigating the underworld in any kind of way, if it's ever connected, areas that he's traversed in his maybe going out to an old den of thieves out in the desert, he would get bonuses to finding his way along that path. Gladiator might be a little bit more rare, but again, so however these would factor in, the DM can give can give bonuses. And then just also from his background, where he's actually from, he would get bonuses in his actual. If the character's been there or grown up there, he'd get large bonuses, ranging from, as I say, from 2 to 4. Okay, so now we'll get to the actual attributes. So I'm just going to roll them now. We have got 50, so that's going to be rounded down. I'm just going to write down the results here, 25. And then a 96, so that's really high. That's what, 48, so I know where that's going to go. A 49, which will be a 24, rounded down. 70, 35, so I'm actually rolling quite well above average. And a 42, 21. So pretty good stats, actually, considering they range from 1 to 50, definitely above average. The percentile for the stat is going to be put here. I just guess I'll put it 48 for strength. I'm just going purely by concept of who Versdagliga is. He's strong, and then he's tough, agility. Then actually after that is his charisma. So 25. He's actually charismatic for a barbarian. Then 24. Then 21. So those are the actual stats of how that conceptually the character would work out. So we will look at the barbarian chart. I know what these are, but we'll go, for the most part, we'll take a look at it. So the barbarian, here's his strength column. So he has a 40 something. So 26 to 75 is a +2. So Versdagliga's strength bonus is a +2. 35 constitution has the same range. So 35, 26 to 75, a +2 con. So good stats. His agility at 24 is going to be just out of range. So 26 is a +1. He's still just on the edge of that at a 23, 24. So it is going to be a 0. So his agility is able to say +0. His charisma at 25. Oops. Oh, what in the world? Okay. All right. So his charisma at a 25 is just up to -2. So he's more charismatic, even though barbarians tend not to be terribly charismatic. He does have a -2. So his charisma is a little more charming. And then intellect is definitely -3. So minimal, the worst you can get for a barbarian. So -3. And so again, when he goes to make a check, he goes to make a strength check. Now the barbarian have some additional bonuses, but in general, just a general strength check is going to be a roll a d10, add a +2. And in general, 6 or higher is success, and then the difficulties scale past that. So, trying to decipher some runes on the side of a pyramid or something, Versdagliga is not your guy to go to. So those would be his attributes. Again, for actually pretty solid attributes. Next, we go to his features, which this is really what distinguishes the classes in RIN. Athletics, the attributes ranges distinguish it actually quite a bit, but then these tie into some pretty powerful abilities. Athletics, fury, and might. These are the 3 features that barbarians get, and we will generate them now. So, and I know the order of Versdagliga, how this is going to work. So we've got an 89, rolling quite well. 89 be 8 at 44. We've got a 37, that'd be 18. And a 98. Wow, I rolled really well. So it's going to be a powerful first level character. Versdagliga is always a might based. He's incredible might. After that, he's very athletic. He's actually not terribly ferocious. He's actually rather kind of more charming. He does have fury, as any barbarian does, but it's actually the least of his elements. Now, with RIN, this is key. We'll take a look at the athletics, and then we need to spend the percentile points, as many features in RIN allow you to purchase sub-features. So we're just going to take a look at athletics, and we'll start with that. Athletics. All right, so we'll read the description. Athletics, the barbarian gains a bonus on all attribute checks made to climb, jump, run, and swim. He also distributes his percentile points among feats of combat afforded him by his exceptional athleticism. So it's 2 elements. First of all, a bonus to climbing, jumping, running, and swimming. So if you look, we had like a 40 something. So 26 to 75 is a +2. So athletics. Let's just check exactly what it was. Athletics is 44. Okay, so 44. So that is going to be a +2. So when we go and write that down, what that means is And some people will put in parentheses just so they remember when they're making the checks. Any strength, con, or agility check made to climb, jump, run, or swim is going to actually be at +4. So let me give an example. Versdagliga, a thief grabs something and runs off with one of his items. He picks his pocket and sprints off. Normally that's an agility check to chase him down, but Versdagliga, because it's a check to run, it's not just an agility check for him, it's a +2. So it's going to actually, for his athletics, a +2. Constitution, he's trying to tread water. They've been shipwrecked. They've been in the sea for about hours. He's trying to stay above water. Normally, to endure and keep treading water would be a Constitution check, but he would add with athletics to be +4 for Versdagliga. Same thing, climbing can be either strength or agility is generally how I do it. So again, you want to climb up something. For Versdagliga, it's a +2 plus his athletics. So again, it's just something he's better at. You can write the parentheses. A lot of characters do. I often do, but just remember that when you're doing anything that's athletically oriented, you're adding your athletics. Additionally, we're going to go down to the subfeature section. The percentile that we have is what, 44? I keep forgetting. 44. So we're going to write down the percentile, 44, for athletics. And then we're going to spend it on subfeatures. And this is where you flesh out the character. So let's go to looking at what Versdagliga has. We have ambidexterity if he wants to fight with 2 weapons. We have Scythian, which is when a creature sneaks up on you that's hidden, you get a chance to swing around and hit it before it attacks you. Stamina is just a bunch of hit point based bonuses if you want to be a tanky barbarian. Weapon specialization. There are different versions of Versdagliga. Normally, he always is going to get weapon specialization first. The barbarian gains +1 attack, defend, and +1 attack and defend, and +3 damage with 1 weapon. So I think we're going to just have him focus in on the war axe, the standard. So he's going to spend 30 points on weapon specialization. So we'll list this here. You can kind of do it like this. And again, when you're handwriting, you can write it out a little different. Weapon specialization. And it's going to be the war axe. And he's going to get +1 attack, +1 defend, and +3 damage. So it's really effective with that. And then the question is, do we want to specialize in other weapons? Eventually, he probably specialize. If he finds a magic weapon or something, he might specialize in it. For now, I'm probably going to put 10 into the stamina. So that is going to give us, as we look, it's going to give us +4 to our hit point base. So he'll have some extra. So he's really good with a weapon, and he's really tough. And that fits Versdagliga as far as his athletics. Next, going to Fury. So this is key. When donning no armor, excess damage from the barbarian's melee attacks is carried over to adjacent foes, and he receives an immediate retaliation against the foe who strikes him in melee. When he sustains wounds that would fell him, he rolls Fury as a proficiency. If the check succeeds, then instead of being felled, he becomes enraged for the remainder of the battle. While enraged, he gains an extra damage die and continues to make checks to remain standing. Once he fails a Fury check, he is felled. If an enraged barbarian is still standing after battle ends, then his rage ends with it, restoring to him a number of vitality equal to his check. And he also distributes the points. So Fury is really key. When you don't have armor on, which a barbarian doesn't want to wear armor, his excess damage, it's that the enemies around him, it carries through all of them. So if he does 20 damage, he's got 2 enemies with 10 vitality, he kills both of them. He cleaves right through them. He also gets a retaliation immediately. So when he's hit in combat, he kind of flies into this momentary rage, and it strikes right back. Also, when he would normally be knocked unconscious, like any other character would, instead he makes Fury as a proficiency, and he actually rolls a d20. That's a little. So he's actually one of the few proficiencies that rolls a d20. If he succeeds against the damage, it's actually equal to half the damage, excess damage. He goes into a rage. He keeps fighting, keeps making checks. Stay up. So the barbarian keeps rolling well, can just keep fighting and fighting and fighting. Usually he just gets a few extra turns depending on the battle, but it's pretty fun. And he also has an extra damage die, so it's a cool little. You get at the very end, you fly into this rage, and instead of being knocked unconscious, so altogether it's a nice combination of abilities. Versdagliga has only like 18 points. So what he would actually pick normally, let's see, Dauntlessness, Frenzy, Hurling, and Savagery. So Versdagliga would generally pick Frenzy. It would cost 30 points once per battle. The barbarian gains 1 extra attack on his turn. So already the barbarian is kind of an offensive juggernaut. He gets all these retaliations. His his damage cuts through multiple things, but he just gets that one time he can go into an extra frenzy. He normally doesn't get extra attacks on his turn. He just gets them through retaliation, so that's a little limitation, but he can now go 2. And actually at 90 points, he can get 3 extra attacks. At the start of battle, he can get 4 attacks right away. If he's got 90 points into Fury, just go into this crazy frenzy. Or say savagery is its own thing, hurling, dauntlessness. Versdagliga would definitely go in the frenzy route, but he actually doesn't have enough points to purchase anything, so he's just going to look at Fury on the modifier. So Fury of 1 through 25 is a 0. So what that means is excess damage. Again, this is going to be kind of his weakness as far as the class goes. He's going to roll d20, no modifier. If it's equal to half the damage, or the damage halved, then he can keep fighting and flies into a rage. If not, he's knocked unconscious. So again, he takes 10 excess damage. You know, he's got, let's say, 10 hit points left. He takes 20. So there's 10 XX damage. He's got to make a d20 roll of 5 or higher to fly into a rage, and then he just keeps going. He gets hit for now, 18 damage the next round. Some big ogre hits him. He's got to make a check of 9 or higher, keep fighting. So again, all depends on how you roll, but the barbarian can have some epic battles where he just keeps fighting and fighting and fighting with lucky rolls. But it's just like a little, a cool concept. Okay, now the core to Versdagliga is his might. So this is his most important feature. We'll take a look at might. Might. The barbarian receives a bonus to strength checks when exerting brute force upon a creature or object, such as when bursting out of manacles or kicking an orc off a cliff. He also receives twice his might as a bonus to all damage rolls, and the damage dice of his weapons improve by 1 category. The barbarian further distributes his percentile among exceptional abilities granted him by his indomitable might. So we'll take a look at this. First of all, might, his rating is going to be 26 to 75, so +2. What this is going to give him, we'll write that down. When he's making a strength check, if it's a check to break something, there could be other, generally it's just this an exertion of brute force to break something is when he's going to add his might in addition. So in his case, for athletics, they're both +2. So with might, he's going to try to, burst out of these bonds, kind of like in the, the 1800, chance to bend bars. This is kind of evocative of that immense, exceptional strength that even the warrior, other strong characters don't have this explosive strength. So again, he's got to break out of the manacles. He's adding his strength and his might, so +4. He's trying to bend the bars on his GL cell. He's going to do some feat of strength just to do some brute force to kick this creature off a cliff. Those kinds of things. He's getting bonuses. Additionally, might is key. That all characters add their strength to damage. So +2 he's going to get. You add double your might. So it's just like this exceptional strength that you kind of see in the exceptional strength of the fighter in AD&D, kind of evocative of that. And we will remember to add that in when we calculate his stats. And now we're going to look at might, his abilities. So Versdagliga always takes imposition because it fits his character. The barbarian uses strength instead of charisma to intimidate. When he does this, he also adds his might to the roll. So this is key. So when we're intimidating, we're using strength instead of charisma, and we're adding our might. So what I would do on my character sheet, you're going to, instead of the -2, you get your strength, which is +2, and your might. So when you intimidate, now what this +4 means is that's the actual, it's not just a modifier to the -2, it's the actual stat you roll. That's how I indicate that in RIN usually. So if he's just intimidating, this is only, it's not if he's trying to sweet talk someone or other uses of charisma. Being a diplomat, he's not good at that. If he's trying to intimidate someone, instead of a -2, he's got a +4. Versdagliga is very intimidating, and this is an option for the barbarian if he wants to be skilled in intimidation. So we will go down to, I guess we have Fury here. We should write that out. Fury, and that was 18, which we did not spend because there was nothing to spend on. But then we've got might, and there are 4 because you can have up to 4. The thief class has 4 features. It's the only one that does. Most have 2 to 3. Might is 49. So might, and where we took imposition, you can kind of impose your will on people. So imposition, which costs 20. So it's very effective in certain circumstances. Additionally, Versdagliga tends to gain eventually brawn, but slaying once per battle. When the barbarian successfully strikes the foe, the attack gains its AT bonus to damage. This can get all the way up to 4 times your AT bonus. So he can just do this massive slaying strike combined with frenzy at high level. He just becomes a juggernaut of death. So it costs 25. So we're going to put 25 points in it. That brings us to 45, 4 left. So that'll be what's left over, and that is slaying. And those are how the sub features have been spent. As you see, every barbarian is going to be different based on how you build them. And those are the features. Now we get to the proficiencies. Barbarian does not have a lot of proficiencies. Pretty simple. He has 2: set snares and survival. We've got an 11 and a 36. So 36 is going to go into survival. So he is going to have, okay, so what is it, 36 and 11. So let's write that down. 36 and 11. So we got set snares and survival. Conceptually, Versdagliga tends to be a very, very non-skilled character if I were building him with the concept version. He's actually always getting people lost. But for now, we're just going through the rules. So we'll just say 36 and 11. Okay. So set snares is going to be an 11. Set snares, I think, is a -1, so he's not great at it. And then survival of 36 is a +1. Sure, I guess we'll do it that way. It's a little bit. Okay. All right. So again, set snares is he can, in a natural environment, he can set up a snare. Generally, you roll, and that's the amount of damage that snare deals to the first creature that triggers it. So again, I'm rank 6 -1, so 5 damage is the. We're camping in the cave at night. I set up a little tripwire, and the first goblet runs through, takes 5 damage. That's the general rule, and then there can be some expanded rules for all these proficiencies actually. As if the system grows, if there's interest, I can expand them out. Survival then is a lot. It is the survival skills, which aren't really big emphasis in RIN, like fire and when harsh conditions, surviving those things, finding water in a desert, and getting wild game. But it's really more focused on knowledge about beasts that you encounter, so you know what they're. Well, you can roll. You make a check, and it gives you knowledge that unless you have a survival skill, you wouldn't know. If the Hydra's vulnerable to fire or whatever. Also, safe camping sites. That's another mechanic that it's important to use. And then other just unusual hazards that come up in the wilderness. You can save the party from having bad effects from them. Like a big sandstorm, you can have the wisdom the knowledge of how to get out of the way, not be affected by it, and not be surprised by monsters that emerge out of it. That kind of stuff. Then the barbarian begins with 1 weapon. These are belongings: 1 weapon, buckler, or shield, and D12 times 10 silver pieces. So I'm going to give him the war axe, which we will take a look at. A war axe, and then normally doesn't begin with a ranged weapon. I'll probably give him just the war axe. He's not really I will say war axe and throwing axe. I'm fine with that. D12 times 10 silver pieces. So we can write that down on the sheet. Belongings. This is intended for like important belongings, so we'll just go war axe and throwing axes, which that's just a bundle. You don't run out of them. You don't track ammo in RIN. And then D12 times 10 silver pieces. It's going to start with 60 silver pieces, which can be spent if the DM permits it. At a tavern, we're going to say he is going to purchase for himself 1 healing potion. So 1 healing potion is So the DM can allow you to spend that. Very useful for a barbarian. It's going to get hit a lot. So 1 healing potion, 10 silver pieces. And then as far as his war axe, so we have like weapon sets in RIN that you can kind of have combos set. Or if other characters could put their spell attacks that are common on here. It's really up to you. It just gives you 4 different sets. So we're going to put war axe. We can look at the stats for the war axe just to take a look at it. So war axe, it is +3 to the attack roll, which is up here, AT. So 3 plus his strength. His defend is going to be 1 plus his agility. His damage is going to be D10, but his fury ability actually improves that. I'm sorry, I think its might ability improves it to a D12 by 1 category. It's heavy, which means that you have to use strength to calculate the attack rating, and it's a two-handed weapon. So, and then throwing axes are +2 to the attack. They don't have a defensive roll because the idea is you just pull them out and throw them. You don't actually use them to fight with per se. They're D8, which will become a D10. They're heavy, so you have to use strength. They're throw 15, and they're a throwing weapon. So it means you can't really use them in melee effectively. So now we will go to War Axe. So again, the attack was it's 3 from the weapon itself, 2 from his strength, and if you remember, we took weapon specialization in the War Axe, which gives us a +1. So 3, 4, 5, 6. The attack is +6. So if you want, some character, if they're new to the system, will put in the D10. Remember, your attack rolls are made with D10s, but the vast majority of rolls are going to be D10s in RIN. His defend is going to be a D10 plus agility, which is 0, plus 1 from his weapon specialization. So when he attacks, it's going to be a D10 plus 6. When he defends, a D10 plus 1. The weapons in RIN affect your attack and defend. So the War Axe is the most offensive weapon, really high attack bonus, no defend bonus. The damage is going to be, normally would be a D10 for a War Axe, but the D12 comes from, let's look up, I think it's, I can't remember if it's might or might. Yes, that's what I thought. So might improves the damage by 1 category. Then we're going to add up all his modifiers. So he gets 2 from strength, any class would get. He gets twice his might, which his might is a 2, so he's going to have +4. Then weapon specialization +3. So actually D12 plus 9, which in RIN is very high damage, especially for a low-level character. So he's rolling a D12 plus 9 as damage. He's doing 10 to 21 damage. Again, that's very high. In RIN, it's and then the other thing I want to add in is when he uses his slaying ability, you add your AT bonus to the result of the damage. So once per battle, he can add his AT bonus is a +6. So now he actually has D12. Now I usually add the total D12 plus 15 for slaying. And you could always put like once per battle on your sheet. You could do like once per battle. You do this slaying strike, which gains a 6. Or some people would just put slaying +6 damage. Where just so you understand that it's D12 plus 9, an additional +6. So however you want to put it, additional +6. I tend to just combine everything so I know what when I use the ability, the actual roll is. I don't have to keep it. It all depends on how you want to do it. With slaying, you could even do like slaying once per battle or however you want to do it. Slaying 1, but yeah, once per battle you get this slaying strike that does more damage. And then his throwing axe. The attack is 2. He doesn't have any expertise on it, so it's just his strength. So it's going to be D10 plus 4. In fact, I'll just write it the other way. Sometimes since I know it's normally D10, it's just a +4. His defend is just going to be his agility, which is he actually doesn't really defend with these, so I would just put a dash into the damage. Normally a D8, and improves to a D10. He gains his +2 from strength. He gains his +4 from his might, so D10 plus 6. And if he wants, he could actually do slaying with it. It wouldn't be normally, but it's Versdagliga tends not really to be a ranged character. He does have it as an option. And then if you want to allow barbarians to retaliate with throwing weapons, you can. It doesn't say that in the description, but sometimes it's really an option. So that's how you would do it with. All right, yeah. So then that's what Versdagliga has as its options: attack and melee, or a throwing axe. Belongings. Now we're going to roll the starting treasure, which again, treasure is always at the GM's discretion, but I like to go to see what you start with. So let's see what we roll. We get a 14, which is, if you look 2 through 50, 1 common treasure. So we're going to go to the common treasure list and see what Versdagliga starts with. 67. Phial of Mercury. So the Phial of Mercury, this is how it works. When coated upon a non-magical weapon, renders it magical for 24 hours, gaining +1 attack, +1 defend, and +2 damage. If the weapon is already magical, then instead deals +4 damage. If instead you drink it, it gains you immunity to gaze attacks. So Versdagliga definitely is going to be using it for offensive purposes. So before an important battle, say a creature is magic resistant, he'll pour it on his war axe. It'll start glowing and become magical. You'll get additional attack, additional defense, +2 damage. Actually should grant him +2 prowess as well. That'll have to be updated. As I say, not everything's totally final, but little tweaks here and there. So that is, oh, now we need to calculate. Almost forgotten. We need to calculate his combat stats. His armor is 0. So Versdagliga never wears armor, and there's no real advantage for him wearing armor. You can find a magic item that gives you an armor rating, even though when you're not armored, but it's good for the barbarian. But we're not going. He doesn't have that now. Now we're going to go to hit point base and how you calculate that. It is, in fact, I'll just copy it here. Copy. So you know, I recommend actually writing in the base so you can keep track of everything. This is the hit point base. Okay, so it's going to be 16 plus 4 times strength. If his strength is +2, so it's going to be 16 plus 8 plus 4 times con, which is con is +2, so it's going to be 8 plus 4 times agility +0. So the barbarian can start, again, he's all physical strength, con, agility. He gets big bonuses. He gets high hit points. He just is not defensive at all. So that's going to be 16 plus 8 plus 8 is going to be 32. So he has 32, but if you recall, he also took stamina, which gives him +4. So I usually write like miscellaneous, +4. So he actually has 36. You cut the hit point base in half. You have 18 for prowess, 18 vitality. As you level, and there are a lot of classes that just get a bonus to prowess, or they get a magic item, or they situation they'll get, like, let's say, +10 prowess. You get some spell or something that gives you a bonus. This is where you can write it in and differentiate between where the bonuses are going. So he's starting with a ton of hit points, 18, especially for a low-level character. He's got 18 prowess. I guess I can get rid of the out of. The slash is really meant for character, if you're actually running the, like 18 out of 18. But so he's got 18 prowess, 18 vitality. So again, when he takes damage, it's going to eat through his prowess. Once his prowess is gone, it'll go into vitality. Vitality does not come back until you rest. Prowess does. So again, if he gets knocked down and say he takes a total of 34 damage, he's down to 2 vitality. After the battle, he's still down to 2 vitality, but he still has 18 prowess. So he can continue on. So that's where RIN has attrition, but it also has not where you're crippling and you have to rest, and it breaks the narrative and it breaks the adventure, and just doesn't fit the cinematic action emphasis of RIN. Awareness is just your, which I guess we should do is pathfinding. It's 4 plus intellect, so he actually has, he has a +2 pathfinding, which is actually really pretty good. A lot of classes have terrible pathfinding, so Versdagliga can help you have better conditions under which your encounters occur in the wild. His awareness is just his intellect, which is -3, so he's terrible. He's very oblivious, a big kind of blundering barbarian. Initiative is just going to be his agility, which is +0. His stealth is +0, which for most warriors, that with a 0 agility, he normally would have penalties, but he's actually, as far as big warriors go, he's fairly, he's stealthy. Whereas let's just say a warrior equivalent with a heavy armor's got a -3, he has no chance of sneaking up on anything. Versdagliga actually has a chance to sneak up on some creatures. So let me see. And then I will also write, so spells and powers, this is where you could write out Versdagliga, you could write out your slang. You could keep track of things. Let's say you get a weapon that has a special ability. You can put them in here and you can reference this. And I think also in the belongings area, you can write, this is just a space that you could use for other things. So that's essentially the barbarian. I rolled actually really well for him. He's a really solid barbarian and really good stats. And now we're going to level Versdagliga up to 1st level. So he would be 2nd level. When he hits 100 XP, the standard classes level up. And now we're going to go through the leveling process. So when the barbarian advances in level, he gains a bonus to HP base equal to twice the new level attained, and the percentiles of his attributes, features, and proficiencies increase according to the following rules. So first of all, he gains twice his level. So he's hitting second level, he gains 4 to his hit point base. So we're going to throw that in so we don't forget. +4, so that would, we'll just add it up now, +4. And you can say +4 from level. I mean, however, I would probably put a little bit more detail just so you know where it's coming from. But for now, we'll just put that there. So now he's bumped, gained some hit points. And then he gets to increase his features. So the barbarian gets a d6 +4, 5 to 10 to his strength automatically. So 3 + 4 is 7. So this goes up to 48 + 7 is what, 55. That is not, at 76 is when his strength would increase, so it'll be a little while. He started up higher, actually very high, but you know, it'll take him a while to get up to that level. Next, anything other than any stat other than strength. So this is definitely going to be his constitution. Versdagliga is very tough. So 1 + 4 is 5. He gains 5 to constitution. So 40, that will also increase at 76. So he's kind of in the middle. He'll be in the middle for a while. Now his agility, if I wanted to min-max it, I could push his agility, which actually kind of fits his concept. I could push it, put the stat into agility, but I'm actually just going to stick with the more of the concept. Even though Versdagliga is a little bit above average on the agile element, he's really a strength-based character. So first and foremost, so I would rush to get his strength up to 76. So now a d6 + 4 to any attribute. So I'm going to put it back into strength. I rolled poorly. 1 + 4 is 5, so 60. So again, it's 76. We will hit the +3. So I actually didn't get any changes the way I did the leveling. The attribute didn't increase, but again, it's pretty common to increase one of your attributes. So I could have put it elsewhere. I could have gotten my intellect up, could have gotten my agility up. But again, I chose to go really according to concept. So now we go to features. So on features, we've got when an attribute reaches 100. Oh, okay, yeah, that's kind of already done that, but the attributes aren't close to reaching 100. The barbarian divides 46 + 4 percentile points among his features. So I know where these are all going. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 + 4 is 16. So I have 16 points to work with. Versdagliga typically goes very high into might. He'll also put into athletics. I'm just going to go, so 16 would be what? 50 + 16 would be 60, so 65. Oh, wait, did I do that right? 49, 59, yeah, 65. So 65. He's just going to go on the might, again, going with the concept, and eventually he puts some into athletics, and last, if at all, he'll put some into fury. But we're at might, so we now have 65 points in might. So I'm bumped this up to 65, so that gives us a total of 20 more to spend. So let's take a look at the class from might. With might, oh, and also might goes up at 76, so we'll get a +1 to our might checks, +2 to our damage. So it's definitely fits Versdagliga. Now this once per battle when the barbarian sustains damage, that damage is halved, actually fits Versdagliga quite well. We already have imposition once per battle when the barbarian attacking state. So I would say it could go either way. We actually don't have enough here either, kind of ironically. So this level is going to be kind of a muted level, and that happens in RIN sometimes. You get a level that you don't get a whole lot, but the next level you get a ton, and it's kind of makes for an interesting progression, kind of like in AD&D where provides just like a variety in the levels. Not every level is the same. Not every different classes shine at different periods, so depending how they rolled. So he's actually not going to get any more into his might, and then going to proficiencies, he gets 3d6 + 3 put between his proficiencies. Let's go 2, 8, 12, 13, 14, 15. So he's going to put everything. His 15 points are going to go into. We're going to say that he's been in a 15. It'll be 36, 46, 51. 50. We're going to say he's in a campaign he needs to be the survival person in the group. So 51 just gets him into a +2 on survival. So now his survival is a +2. So overall, he really didn't gain a whole lot. Probably would have gained some items. Really, all he gained was a little hit point boost. So again, a pretty muted level. But again, sometimes how you roll, that's about as muted as they get. He really only got +1 to proficiency and some hit points. But I'm going to go ahead and do the third level to show how that you can see the jumps in ability. So now he hits 400 XP, and we're going to level him again. So same idea. You get a 5 to 10 to strength. So actually rolled a 10, so now he has a 70 on his strength from the initial roll. And then we do anything other than strength. I'm going to keep going with the Constitution because that fits Versdagliga. And 1 plus 4 is 545, so not very far in the Constitution. And then I'm going to put it into strength. So I get another 10 as an 80. This is going to make a big difference. Because if you look on the strength chart, 76 to 100, now we have a +3 strength. So we have a maximum rating on the strength. Now when it reaches 100, you get an additional thing. If you look, when strength reaches 100, the barbarian gains +1 AT with all attack rolls. So it's just pushing his attack even further. Now his strength is a +3. So this is going to, we'll just make the changes now. At this point, he probably would have had a little better weapon. We're not going to factor that in. His attack goes up to by +1. His damage goes up to D12 plus 10. Slaying, it pushes it up to 16. His attack becomes a +5. His damage becomes D10 plus 7. Oh, hit point. I almost forgot about the hit point base. He's going to gain 6 because he's hitting 3rd level. He gains twice his level. He's going to gain this level bonus is going to go further, so he's going to now be at 46. Additionally, his strength, now that it's a +3, the bonus becomes a +12, so that's going to put him up to a 50. I'm adding that all up all right. And then let's see. Okay, that's how strength factors in there. Then we're going to go next to his features. So features are going to be 4d6 plus 4, 6, 10, 14, and 19. 19 plus 4 is 23, so I rolled high on that. So 23 on features. Again, we could put it elsewhere with Versdagliga. I just like to keep pushing. Actually, that'll put him in 88 on his might, so we definitely want to go there. So 88 on might. It's getting really close. Versdagliga typically just maxes out his might. He goes all the way to 100 first. Sometimes he'll put, it just depends on how I'm playing him. And now his might is a +3. So if we look at the might chart, might is 76 to 100 is a +3. So now any kind of checks he's doing to break things, he's got his strength check and his might. So again, bursting on manacles +6, a huge bonus when you're rolling a D10. It's very unlikely for him to fail. He can roll very high. So very strong brute force. That's the character. Might also went up. So you add twice your might, so he's going to gain 2 additional damage. So now it's going up to D12 plus 12. When he's slaying, D12 plus 18. Damage is going to go. So you see his damage is building very quickly because that's how we built the character. He's just a juggernaut of death, really. It's kind of what Versdagliga. Just a powerful, strong barbarian type, and that is what, 88 might. So now we need to spend his might, the rest of his might. And we've got, what, 88 minus 45. We've got 43 to spend. So let's take a look at the character. Now, I think the brawn is nice. Once per battle, when the barbarian sustains damage, that damage is half. He kind of gets hit and shrugs it off. But I think we're just going to continue the slaying. He's got enough hit points. And again, you can min-max this. I could, but I'm not going to do that. You could distribute the points as you want, and there's nothing wrong with that if you want to play that way. I'm just going according to concept. I'm going to actually push it up to 50. So slaying is now going to be 50, which makes it 70, which would leave me 18 left over, which wouldn't quite be enough. So now slaying is going to be up to 50. When slaying is 50. Once per battle, when you strike a foe, the attack gains twice his AT bonus. So now, if we're looking up here, let's just push this back to its original 12. Your AT bonus is a +7. It's been increased from your strength. Again, if you had a magic item or enchantment, it would increase along with it. Now you're going to be gaining 14, so now 26. So now, once per battle, he's got this power attack that's dealing 27 to 38 damage, so just this massive attack. And slaying is, yeah, you can deal some nasty damage as the barbarian. And again, that could also be added on to, I guess, if we want to do a slaying with the throwing axe, it would add 10 to that. It would add, because the attack rating on the throwing axe is lower. But yeah, as you can see, he's just kind of becoming a little juggernaut. And then we've got, as far as the hit point based on 20, so he's got 25 prowess and 25 vitality. And then we'll do his proficiencies. We got 5, 7, 8, 9. 9 plus 3 is 12. We're just going to keep putting it into, so 12 would be 63. That's not going to increase, I don't think. I think it's at 76 it increases. Yeah, so he would just max out his survival, but for now he's at +2. Again, proficiencies aren't really the main focus of the barbarian, but little by little he gets better at them, and survival of +2 is quite useful. And there we go. So that's what a third level Versdagliga would look like. You see a solid increase in hit points. Offensive abilities have increased significantly if compared to the first level version. Much better strength checks, significantly. Oh, also because he adds his might, it actually is intimidate. We forgot about this +6 because his strength is now. So when he intimidates, he got a +6. So that's a really high bonus in RIN because again you're dealing with a D10, become like a +12 equivalent in the D20 system. But yeah, a big bonus. Again, he's not good at negotiation. He's not good at other types of charisma, bargaining, bartering. But if he's going to intimidate you, if he's using threat of force, it's going to be tough. So that's Versdagliga. That is an example of the way the leveling works, and I think that gives you some insight into how the game progresses. And there we go.